A lot of times when we're doing Beat the Breakout, we're looking at the prospects getting called up. It's from those teams that need help, right? Those teams that are looking for something in the minor league system to give them a boost. But we got some big name clubs here who may be on the verge of making some important calls. One that already did. A little bit of rivalry flair here, too. Both New York teams, both Sox and the Mariners. And quick reminder before I get into the players, you just assume that these big clubs, especially the major markets, that they're going to look to the trade market, that they'll just fill any hole that they have with whatever's available. But sometimes the best option is right there in the minors. All right, before we talk New York, let's talk White Sox. All right, now actually the biggest prospect, the name prospect that has gotten the call, and we've seen him a couple days now, is Colson Montgomery. And honestly, this came as a surprise. I haven't talked about Montgomery intentionally because he just hasn't been doing that well this season. And this is a shortstop who's got a lot of power. He's got all the tools, but man, that plate discipline was lacking to say the least. At AAA in Charlotte, I mean, he was posting a 34% strikeout rate. He was only hitting 218. Who would call him up? Well, the White Sox, of course, because he fits right in. But seriously, though, I mean, they could have done this at any time. It didn't matter because, right, there's always going to be a job waiting for him. They picked now, despite the fact he hadn't shown any progress in. Who cares about AAA, right? Of course, all he's done since coming back up is had a pair of multi-hit games. In his debut, no hits, but he made a spectacular diving play, a web gem, if you will, and then a 2-hit game, a 3-hit game. On Monday, no hits, but he did draw a walk and score a run. So it goes to show that, you know what, minor league resume doesn't always translate to major league success or vice versa. It doesn't mean he'll keep it up, right? You can't expect that he'll hit for a high average just because he has in his first couple of games. But man, he does look pro ready. And of course, if he's at least adequate out there, he's got that job for as long as he can hold on to it. They've got him batting 7th right now and manning shortstop on a daily basis so far. It's probably going to stay that way for the time being. Could he move up, way up in that lineup? Of course he can. Nobody's holding him back. Now, I haven't made a point of picking up Montgomery just yet, but I can see in your deeper leagues or, of course, anything where you're keeping players, a dynasty format, anything with an eye toward the future. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's got the power. He hasn't shown it yet, in the majors, but he certainly could. All right, now we fully expect Yankees, Mets to address pitching by acquiring big name impending free agents in the trade market, but for the time being, the Yankees cannot wait because Clark Schmidt, unfortunately, is out for the season. Really disappointing because he had so many injuries throughout his career, and finally, he was having his best year. And so, yeah, they still could go out and get an arm, and I'm sure they will. But for the time being, the Yankees have decided to call up a really kind of under the radar prospect named Cam Schlittler. And it sounds like Schlittler is scheduled to square off against Seattle. Say that 5 times fast. It could be today or tomorrow or yesterday, depending when you're watching this. Anyways, he's going to debut. He's in the rotation for now. They need an arm. How long it will last depends, of course, on how he does and what they do. But, let's give this guy a look. He is about 6'6", and he throws about 96 miles per hour. He's got some sneaky, quick arm speed, and he could definitely strike batters out. He had over 30% strikeout rate this year in the minors. But he also has 3 other above average offerings, so it's not just fastball only, not just a 2-pitch pitcher. This guy has the repertoire of a starter. Now, that said, he's pretty high up there in terms of the rankings as far as the Yankees farm system goes, but not everybody's a huge fan. So if you know Keith Law, which if you know anything about prospects or baseball, you've heard of Keith Law, here's what he said very recently in The Athletic. He said, I can see the starter profile here, talking about Schlittler, but without an out pitch, he looks more like a backhand guy, and I worry he'll be homer prone or at least prone to hard contact in the majors. That's not a ringing endorsement. But again, it's not a prognostication. He didn't say he's going to flop. He's just saying, look out. You can say that for anybody. You know what? You can say the exact same thing for Chase Burns, who has given up hard contact already in a couple of starts, but also has a lot of swing and miss stuff and a ton of upside. It's the same with any young pitcher. You've got tantalizing stuff. It's just a matter of whether he can locate it consistently and avoid that hard contact. So I definitely think he's worth adding, and I'm going to wait and see, of course, even though Seattle is not a bad matchup. Let's see how he does. Let's see how this whole thing shakes out, but he's got a legitimate shot to stay. Now, as it turns out, the Mets really need rotation help probably more so injuries, and just when you thought Sean Manaea was coming back, he has been set back. Okay, if they do make a call, you'd think it would be Brandon Sprout, and I've been waiting for him to at least get on the radar, but man, he has taken a step back the last couple of months, does not look like himself, does not look ready at all. So now we might see Nolan McLean jumping over him. Now, McLean only stands at 6'3". This is also a guy who's got a good fastball, but 6 different pitches that he attacks hitters with. You got to love that. And, he is able to deceive both right and left-handers with his variety of pitches. Unlike Sprout, he's gotten better as he's moved up levels at AAA this year, a 2.80 ERA and a 1.17 whip. He just continues to roll and get better as the season goes on. In fact, since being promoted to AAA early this year, he hasn't given up more than 2 earned runs in a start since back on May 15th. And that was his second start ever at the AAA level. Despite being in one of these huge markets, in a system that you'd think they'd be ready for any of these pitchers to come up and get the call, McLean really has flown under the radar. Keep an eye out. Now, for the Red Sox, a little different story. We still don't know exactly what's going to go on here. Their young players are starting to show up. Could they add another rookie to the mix here? Well, they very well might, especially if they are sellers at the deadline, which remains to be seen. But you probably heard of Blaze Jordan. Now, Blaze Jordan has been good, not great in the minors so far, but he's been consistent, and we know he's got a ton of raw power and a pretty good hit tool, so he's a guy who could adapt pretty quickly. Now, mind you, not Roman Anthony level, not Marcelo Mayer level. Everybody knew those players. You may not know Blaze Jordan if you don't really know prospects, but he is a guy who's also older than those, has more experience under his belt in the minor league level, and he's held his own. Now, he was promoted to the AAA level just a month ago. He's got, like I said, 55 grade raw power. It hasn't quite shown up yet. 7 home runs all of last year at the AA level and 353 at-bats, and this year he's got 9 homers in 262 at-bats, and that's across both double and AAA. So it may take a little longer to fully grow into that power. That's not unusual. We know it's there, but, maybe the Red Sox decide they're going to let it play out at the pros. Logistically speaking, could this just be their first base solution? They decide he is ready after a month of seasoning at AAA. Maybe they don't have to move Christian Campbell over there or make some sort of trade. Now, I will say, Romy Gonzalez has been on fire lately, but let's face it, he's really not a long-term solution. At least I don't think he should be. Maybe they're just happy with him, but still at some point you figure second half, Blaze Jordan is going to be in a Red Sox uniform. And as far as the Mariners go, they're looking for a solution. I think at first base, Luke Raley just came off the IL, and he's mostly been handling that against right-handed pitchers, while Donovan Solano, is in there against lefties. Not ideal, all right? Let's just face it, they're fine players, but could they use a little more upside here? Sure. Why not go with one of their top prospects, Tyler Locklear? Now everybody's ready for Lázaro Montes to come up. Too young, not ready. That's probably more like next year or maybe late season cup of coffee. Realistically, Locklear could fill in. Now remember, he was with the Mariners last year. Didn't go well, right? The numbers weren't great. Hit 156 in 49 plate appearances. So look, he got some exposure to the majors. Maybe he does better his second go around. Doing pretty well at the minor league level this year, hitting 295 and a 10.4% K minus BB rate. That plate discipline is pretty good. Now, the power's been solid with 13 home runs, and something he's starting to do more is run. Now he's got 15 stolen bases. That's his already career high for the minor league level. Don't expect him to be a speedster, but it's kind of nice that he's maybe adding a little bit of that to his game. Despite all their injuries to the pitching staff throughout the year, and despite some lulls in offense, the Mariners are hanging in there. They've got a chance to win that division. So sure, they might make a move, but Locklear, just like all these prospects, I will say, or maybe not all, but a lot of them, even if they don't make their way up to the club they're currently on, if that team makes a move somewhere else to address, a position, these guys might be playing for another club and still getting at bats. So just keep an eye on Locklear. Well, those are the youngsters that you might want to add or stash. Here's some of the veterans you might want to ditch. Yeah, it's the cut list. It's okay to part with some of these struggling stars before the half is over.